The federal courthouse lobby smelled faintly of lemon polish and tired ambition. Outside, reporters shouted questions that ricocheted off the marble walls. Clara ignored them, clutching a paper coffee cup from the corner cart, heat steadying her hands. Inside, ordinary citizens filled benches, landlord disputes, parking ticket appeals. Clara sat quietly beside Evelyn and Raina. Justice wasn't glamorous, it was paperwork and patience. Their case was called. Meredith's attorneys argued delay, citing complexity. Evelyn stood precise. Chain of custody is intact, receipts uploaded, nothing ambiguous. She placed the laundromat photo on the screen, the forged authorization bleeding ink under steam. The courtroom murmured. The judge leaned forward. Forgery confirmed. Discovery proceeds. Meredith's jaw twitched, but her eyes stayed still. Clara sipped cooling coffee, savoring the bitter taste. This wasn't about spectacle. It was about proving ordinary tools could pierce billion-dollar lies. Outside, the city honked and bustled. Inside, truth simmered, slow but undeniable. When the hearing ended, Clara ducked into a bakery to buy blueberry muffins. The bell jingled, smell of butter and sugar wrapping around her. She wanted something simple, something sweet. Reporters followed, crowding the counter. "Clara, are you Richard Ashworth's heir? Did you go undercover for revenge?" She lifted the muffin box. "I bought breakfast, that's all." Customers chuckled. The baker slipped in an extra pastry. "On the house, lunch lady. Keep fighting." On the bus ride back to Maplewood, Clara sat beside a woman carrying groceries. "You're the cafeteria lady on TV?" the woman asked softly. Clara nodded. "Still am." The woman smiled. "My niece works at the warehouse. She said thank you. Nobody's ever opened boxes before." Clara handed her a muffin. Ordinary kindness. Extraordinary weight. For once, the story wasn't about scandal. It was about breakfast, shared on a bus, rolling through a city that kept moving. The laundromat's hum had become their soundtrack. Washers churned socks and secrets alike. Clara, Lynn, and Mara spread Halverson files across a folding table while dryers beeped in the background. "Discovery's next," Evelyn said over speakerphone, her voice sharp. "We need full Halverson client logs. That's where the rot is." Mara folded towels with neat precision. "Logs are bodies and paperwork." Clara traced a billing entry with her finger. Halverson billed Global Core and another multinational the same day for signature harmonization. "This is bigger than one company." Lynn leaned back, sipping vending machine coffee. "So we're not just exposing fraud. We're pulling threads across industries." A boy nearby cursed at a pinball machine. A dryer buzzed. Quarters clinked. Ordinary life rolled on. Clara envied its simplicity. She gathered the pages. "We don't chase every lie. We chase enough to boil the pot." Steam fogged the windows. Outside, the city blurred, but inside, receipts grew sharper. Forklifts beeped in Monterey's humid air, cardboard and diesel mingling. Sophia held up her phone on video call. 3 pallets labeled STEM Outreach. 1's real, 2 are hollow. Cereals don't match. Clara leaned against Maplewood's cafeteria counter, apron tied, chili bubbling. "Chain of custody?" Sophia panned the camera. Independent auditors signed forms. Workers logged barcodes. "Stamped? Double verified?" Debbie peeked over Clara's shoulder, hairnet askew. "They look like us. Tired, but proud." "Exactly," Clara said. "Real workers fixing fake labels." Sophia wiped her forehead. "We'll ship good units by Friday. The hollow ones get logged as evidence." Clara stirred chili. Fraud in Monterey, chili in Chicago. 2 kitchens, same recipe for truth. Ordinary lunches mattered as much as billion-dollar cargo. In Pune, Naina's voice crackled through Clara's laptop as she mopped cafeteria floors. Behind Naina, chai steam curled. Test payroll ran clean. No ghosts, workers paid in real time. Some laughed. They thought checks would never come this fast. She turned her camera. 2 women raised tumblers of chai, smiles wide. Real hours, real names. Relief tastes like tea. Clara leaned on her mop. Good. Ghosts don't get paychecks anymore. Nina grinned. One anomaly, false alarm, but it triggered the dog meme alert. Whole office laughed. Debbie walked by, stacking trays. Tell her thanks, from lunch ladies to payroll clerks. Naina raised her cup. Global solidarity. The call ended. Clara wrung her mop, water dripping steady. Fraud was ugly, but correction was honest, rhythmic, and satisfying. Clara and Lynn sat side by side at a nail salon, soaking fingers in warm bowls. Pop radio hummed, dryers whirred. Their nails gleamed while fraud files balanced on their laps. You realize we're strategizing with cuticle oil? Lynn muttered. Clara smirked. Meredith plotted at 68 degrees. We're allowed polish. Evelyn joined via speakerphone. Halverson dumped thousands of pages to protect themselves. We need eyes everywhere. Clara tapped her drying nails carefully. We'll split files across laundromats, libraries, cafeterias. Truth doesn't need marble floors. A technician applied top coat, chatting about her kid's science project. Ordinary voices layered over billion-dollar schemes. Clara cherished it. When they left, Lynn waved her sparkly nails. Justice looks better with glitter. Clara laughed. So does revenge. Saturday's market brimmed with apples, sunflowers, and kettle corn. Clara and Debbie wandered with tote bags, blending among families and couples. At a honey stall, the vendor recognized Clara. Lunch lady, right? Keep opening boxes. Clara smiled, bought a jar, then noticed something odd, a billing stub taped to reused cardboard. She peeled it off. Halverson logo. Different client. Debbie frowned. What's it doing here? Back at Clara's kitchen, they studied it. Another corporation tied to the same forgery playbook. Fraud wasn't just global core, it was systemic. Clara tucked the stub into her binder. Fraud hid in grocery crates as easily as corporate boardrooms. Ordinary markets carried extraordinary evidence. Maplewood cafeteria transformed into a town hall. Folding chairs lined up, trays doubled as podiums. Marjorie served cookies, plain, honest, labeled. Clara faced the crowd. Fraud touched this campus, but it doesn't end here. Halverson forged for others. If we don't watch, it repeats. A professor asked, Why involve us? Isn't this corporate cleanup? Clara shook her head. Fraud leaks. It leaks into jobs, meals, and futures. If they fake labels, eventually they fake your paycheck. The crowd murmured. Evelyn updated on court. Sophia and Nina appeared on screens, bridging continents. By the end, volunteers signed up for a watchdog group, the Open Box Collective. Ordinary citizens ready to keep asking questions. Debbie whispered as chairs scraped. Lunch ladies and librarians, who knew we'd guard billions? Clara smiled. Anyone who ever read a receipt? At the local gym, Clara jogged while Jules and Debbie flipped through Halverson invoices on clipboards. Between reps, they compared dates and clients. Halverson billed 3 corporations for the same replication services, Jules said, panting. Global Core's just the loudest scandal. Debbie squatted, grimacing, like mass-producing bad cookies. Clara pushed through her last set, sweat dripping. We don't just expose Global Core, we prove this factory of forgery touches industries everywhere. TVs overhead blasted football highlights. Around them, people lifted, stretched, scrolled their phones, ordinary life on treadmills. Clara's phone buzzed. Raina's text. Prosecutors demand full Halverson logs. Deadline, 10 days. She dropped onto a mat, panting. Justice and cardio, both relentless. Clara listened to the shareholder call while stirring soup in her kitchen. Richard's voice boomed through her headphones. Compliance reviews are underway. Interim CRO Crane holds authority. Analysts grilled him. What about your daughter's role? Richard hesitated. She exposed fraud when others didn't. Transparency is policy now. Clara stirred onions, smiling faintly. Debbie and Jules slurped soup at her table, listening on speaker. Truth with broth, Debbie said. Clara chuckled. Soup's more honest than a pie chart. You see every ingredient. Nothing hides at the bottom. The laundromat was overrun. baskets of clothes jostling with Halverson files. Women circled machines, highlighters in hand. Lynn marked invoices. Mara checked macros. Debbie fed quarters. Clara held a page. Replication dates matchboard meetings. That's intent, not error. A man folding shirts glanced curiously. Clara tucked the page discreetly. He shrugged, returned to socks. Ordinary life didn't stop for billion-dollar fraud. Raina dropped by, badge glinting. They even templated Richard's will signature. This isn't just fraud, it's inheritance theft. Clara's chest tightened. Fraud had claws deeper than stock prices. The dryers dinged. Proof spun out warm, dangerous, undeniable. The church basement smelled of burnt coffee and resolve. Volunteers from the Open Box Collective sorted stacks of Halverson printouts under buzzing fluorescent lights. Clara briefed simply, "Fraud hides in fine print. We'll drag it into daylight." A retired librarian cataloged invoices by date. A former accountant cross-checked billing codes. A teacher made color-coded tabs. Ordinary people, extraordinary work. Clara poured weak coffee into a styrofoam cup, heart swelling. Across the room, someone whispered, "They mocked the lunch lady. Now she's teaching us how to cook the truth." Clara didn't answer, but she smiled into her cup. Evelyn stormed into Clara's apartment with bagels. Halverson leaked partial files to a friendly outlet, framing forgery as clerical innovation. Reporters nearly bit. Clara nearly laughed. "Innovation, bold spin." The group gathered. Lynn formatting, Mara numbering, Debbie brewing coffee, Jules jotting summaries. Clara's living room transformed into a newsroom. By dawn, they uploaded everything. Halverson log dump, receipts don't lie. The internet roared. Outlets quoted their summaries, not Halverson's PR. Clara exhaled, watching sun rise through her blinds. Bagels stale, coffee bitter, but the truth was fresh. "Receipts cook faster than lies," she murmured. Federal court on a Tuesday was a patchwork of justice. Parking tickets, landlord disputes, then billion-dollar fraud. Clara sat in the gallery, hairnet folded in her pocket, coffee cooling at her feet. Evelyn reviewed notes. Raina polished her badge absent-mindedly. When their case was called, Meredith's lawyers rose with performative indignation. "Our client engaged consultants in good faith. Any forgery is clerical error, not intent." Evelyn stood, spine straight. "Error doesn't create watermarks that bleed under steam." She projected the laundromat photo. The forged signature blurred across the screen. The judge frowned. "Discovery proceeds, no delays." Reporters scribbled furiously. Meredith's expression didn't break, but her hand gripped the table edge a shade too tightly. After court, Clara walked outside and bought a hot pretzel from a street cart. She bit into the salt and dough, watching lawyers in polished shoes hurry by. Justice, she thought, wasn't always sweet. Sometimes it was chewy, ordinary, and stubbornly warm. By Thursday, global core stocks slid 11%. News tickers screamed governance crisis, while analysts filled airwaves with speculation. Clara ignored the noise. She pushed a cart through a grocery store with Debbie, under the glow of tired fluorescence. "Beans cost more again," Debbie muttered, shaking her head. "Stock dipped," Clara replied. "Maybe soup and markets are linked." At checkout, the cashier scanned items, then whispered, "You're the lunch lady from TV. My aunt works at facilities. She said thank you. No one ever checked labels before." Clara smiled, handed over cash, and folded the receipt carefully into her binder. Proof. In groceries and governance alike. Outside, a teenager biked past, shouting, "Lunch lady billionaire!" Clara laughed, shaking her head. Stocks may have fallen, but trust in the lunch line was climbing. Debbie nudged her cart. "That's worth more than shares." Sophia's call came mid-laundry. Clara sat folding uniforms at the laundromat when the screen lit with forklifts beeping behind her. "One pallet vanished between Monterey and Houston," Sophia said, frowning. "Manifest says loaded, truck says empty." Clara paused, dryer humming behind her. "Sabotage again? Or amateurs copying the old play?" Sophia muttered. Naina joined the call from Pune, spreadsheets glowing. "Check barcodes. Fraud loves reruns." That evening, Sophia reported the pallet found. Intact. diverted to a rest stop under a fake label. Someone tested the scam. It didn't stick. Clara folded the last shirt, snapped her binder shut. If they're trying reruns, it means we're still ahead. Ordinary washers beeped. The world spun clean. Fraud tried, but the rinse cycle belonged to them now. The cafe smelled of espresso and roasted beans, comfort layered with unease. Clara sat opposite Marjorie, whose hands trembled around a paper cup. "I gave them trays," Marjorie admitted. "I thought it was harmless. Now Tara's leaving threats on my voicemail, said I'll regret crossing her." Clara stirred her latte slowly. "You regret lies more than threats. Stand with truth." At the next table, students laughed over finals, oblivious. The barista called names, lattes lined in a row like soldiers. Ordinary chatter drowned extraordinary danger. Marjorie wiped her eyes. "If I testify, I lose my job." "You'll gain your life back," Clara said firmly. "We'll stand with you." Marjorie nodded, a tremor shifting into resolve. "Then I'll testify." Clara sipped her latte. Warm, ordinary, steady. Good. Tara's threats don't scare daylight. At 2 a.m. Chicago time, Clara's phone buzzed. Naina's face appeared, chai steaming on her desk. "The anomaly bell rang," she said. "Not ghosts this time. A clerk duplicating shifts for a cousin." "Small or big, fraud's still fraud," Clara murmured, rubbing tired eyes. "We corrected it. Cousin retrained, duplicate pay canceled. Workers laughed, said transparency makes better jokes than lies." Clara leaned against her apartment window. A garbage truck clanged below, city half asleep. "We're proving systems can learn, even cousins." Naina raised her tumbler. "Global solidarity." The call ended. Clara returned to her couch, receipts spread across the table. Fraud never slept. But neither, it seemed, did proof. The shareholder meeting filled a hotel ballroom with folding chairs and bitter coffee. Some attendees waved financial reports. Others clutched Clara's printed receipts from the internet. Meredith's allies spoke first. Minor irregularities. Consultants exceeded scope. Clara rose. "I was mocked for ladling chili, but while I ladled, I counted. And I counted lies. We deserve better." The room buzzed. Small investors stood and clapped. Analysts scribbled. Richard cleared his throat. "We appoint Evelyn Crane as permanent CRO. Audits in Monterey and Pune remain ongoing. Transparency is now policy." The vote passed. Meredith's allies slumped, outnumbered. Clara sat, heart pounding. Debbie leaned close, whispering, "Lunch lady just rewrote corporate governance." Clara folded her receipt binder tighter. The boardroom now looked more like a kitchen. Hot, loud, unforgiving, but honest. Clara reached for pasta in the grocery aisle when a stranger approached, voice trembling. "I lost savings in the stock dip. But I read your receipts. I believe you're fixing it." Clara froze, box in hand. "I can't undo losses, but I can stop fraud from stealing futures again." The woman's eyes brimmed. "That's enough." They parted quietly, carts rolling on linoleum. Clara checked out, folded the receipt into her binder. Groceries and governance, linked by paper trails. At home, she boiled pasta, steam fogging the kitchen window. Debbie tasted the sauce and smiled. Ordinary meals, extraordinary stakes. Clara nodded. Proof didn't just sit in binders. It sat in boiling pots, in receipts folded carefully, in trust slowly rebuilt. The campus cafe reopened under Jules' management. Chalkboards listed prices, cookies labeled with plain tags. Students joked about receipt lattes and snapped photos. Clara tied her apron, serving alongside Debbie. A freshman grinned. "Didn't expect the lunch lady billionaire to pour my coffee." "I'm still the lunch lady," Clara replied. "And transparency tastes better with caffeine." Raina raised her mug. "To boring honesty." Cheers erupted. For once, fraud wasn't headline. It was a cautionary tale retold between sips. Clara inhaled the scent of espresso, thinking, ordinary places rebuild extraordinary trust. Meredith took the stand, hair perfect, voice steady. "I engaged consultants. Efficiency required it. Evelyn's cross-examination cut sharp. Efficiency doesn't forge signatures. Did you approve Halverson's replication services? Meredith smirked. I approved innovation. Clara's binder snapped open. Evelyn slid Halverson's macros across the table, comments reading blur curve on R.A. flourish. The judge's brow furrowed. Innovation doesn't falsify authorizations. Meredith's mask cracked. The courtroom buzzed. Reporters scribbled. Outside, a taco truck fed the crowd waiting for verdicts. Inside, receipts outweighed performance. Richard's townhouse smelled of polished wood and regret. Clara sat across from him, binder on her lap. You knew enough to stop it, she said. He sighed. I chose optics over truth. I thought keeping stock steady mattered more than honesty. Optics don't feed communities, Clara snapped. Truth does. He rubbed his temples. So what happens now? You step aside when reforms demand it, she said. Silence stretched. Finally, Richard nodded. After transition, I'll retire. Clara exhaled. Ordinary families argued over bills. Hers argued over billions. Still, for the first time, she felt they might be speaking the same language. At Saturday's market, Clara bought sunflowers and apples. Vendors clapped as she passed. Open boxes forever, one called. She laughed, cheeks warm. Receipts don't lie. Children tugged at parents for kettle corn, a fiddler played folk tunes, and the world spun as usual. But Clara knew ordinary markets now carried extraordinary meaning. Fraud could hide in crates. Proof could hide in jars of honey. She tucked the apples into her tote, smiled at the fiddler, and blended into the crowd. Trust, like produce, had to be fresh. Her apartment smelled of chili, pie, and cornbread. Debbie stirred pots. Jules poured lattes. Lynn burned her first pie, but laughed it off. Marjorie brought cookies. Simple, labeled, honest. Sophia and Nina joined on video screens, raising glasses from Monterey and Pune. They ate like survivors, fast at first, then slow, savoring ordinary quiet. Clara stood after dishes, hairnet in hand. She hooked it on the nail by the open blinds. They mocked the lunch lady, she said. Now we teach them how to serve honestly. No champagne, just ginger beer and the hum of community. Outside, Chicago pulsed. Inside, women who once counted trays now counted truths, and made them count.